Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustment of the Township of Union, which is being held pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Law C-231 laws of New Jersey, dated 1975. Notice of this meeting was advertised in the local source and/or the Star Ledger, the two newspapers of record. A notice has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building adjacent to the municipal clerk's office. Roll call.
Mr. Wiley.
Here.
Ms. Martins.
Here.
Mr. Bentavegana.
Here.
Ms. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. McNeil.
Here.
Mr. Graves.
Here.
Ms. Ricketts is absent. Mr. Champion.
Here. There being a quorum present, this meeting is now declared open. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board, I move that the meeting minutes of June 12th, July 17th, and August 28th of 2024 be approved as written and dispense with their reading.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Are there any communications?
There are no communications.
Hearing none, we will proceed with tonight's meeting. The first case we'll do this evening will be calendar number 3445, Kevin Costa, located at 401 Lum Avenue, Block 1216, Lot 4. Applicant wishes to enclose the front porch with insufficient setbacks.
How you doing?
Hey,
Hello. You state your name and your address. And
Kevin Costa, 401 Lum Ave, Block 1216, Lot 4.
do you have an attorney, Mr. Costa?
No,
Or you
sir.
can represent yourself? Okay.
Mr. Costa, this is Rob Pansul. I'm the board attorney over here in the back.
How are you?
From above.
Yes.
Can I just ask you to raise your right hand, swear or affirm that the testimony you provide this evening is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and for the record, just spell your name for us?
The first name or the last?
Both.
Kevin, last name Costa.
And you're the owner of the property and the applicant today?
Yes, with my
Okay.
wife.
I've marked the application as you submitted it. It had the survey, it had some of the sketches of the proposed plans and a couple of photos. Why don't you explain to the board, authenticate that information for us and explain what you're doing and why at the subject property.
Great. Like I said, my name is Kevin. My wife is here also on the seat. We reside at 401 Lum Ave, Block 1216, Lot 4. We appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys tonight regarding our proposal to enclose our front porch, which would extend the standard front setback requirements of 25 feet. Right now, we have 21 feet. We have considered various options to increase our living space for our growing family, and enclosing the front porch appears to be the most logical and effective solution. The additional space would provide us with much-needed room for storage and activities, enhancing our overall living environment. Furthermore, we believe that by investing in this project, we can improve the aesthetics of our home, creating a more inviting front exterior that would benefit our neighbors and enhance the character of our block. We respectfully request your consideration and support for this proposal, as it would significantly improve our family's functionality and contribute positively to our community. Thank you.
At this time, are there any board members that would like to question the testimony that Mr. Costa has given this evening?
Mr. Costa, just authenticate, you have the setback that is 21 feet. That's what exists now at the front porch? You're
Correct.
just enclosing that, right?
Correct, yeah.
And the sketch that's in the materials, it kind of gives an outline, you're just going to make it into actual living space?
Just, yeah, it's an idea, yeah.
It's
Yep,
still a
yep.
single-family residential
Still
home, though,
single.
right? That's not going to change
Correct,
for you
no,
and your family?
that's not going to change. It's just, we want a four-season, more space for the kids. My wife's pregnant right now. She's
Great.
due any minute, so.
Great. Now,
just space.
the three photographs that were attached in the back, that's your existing structure as you have it now, that's what you're enclosing, right? That's
Correct,
just
correct.
showing the board, the layout.
Yes.
with the door and what
Oh, you
exists?
guys,
Okay, have you had any discussions with any of your neighbors? Did anybody react to the letter that you sent when you told me you'd be here tonight? Because you understand the variances for just the front
yeah,
setback?
all my encounters with the neighbors were all positive.
Good, okay.
So, I mean, there was no objections as of now.
And you realize you gotta, when you go for permits, you'll have the opportunity, the building department may have some recommendations by way of drain pipes, drainage, stuff like that. You have no problem working cooperatively with the
No,
powers that
not
be
at
at the
all.
town when you get construction permits?
Not at all.
You got it. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if anybody else has any
Thank
questions.
you.
Any board members that would like to?
I just have a quick question for
Okay,
you.
Mr. Ben.
So looking at the picture, just to clarify, you're just doing this area?
Correct.
You're not bringing the whole house out,
Nothing, no. So these footings,
footings?
they're gonna be existing. They already hold the weight, so
Okay, perfect.
it's pretty structurally sound. I had a contractor also review it, and he's not concerned with, I guess, the slab underneath. So,
Okay.
Any other board questions? Hearing none, are there any members of the public that would like to question the testimony that Mr. Costa has given this evening? Hearing none, are there any members of the public that would like to come forward and comment on this application? Hearing none, Mr. Costa, I believe at this time, do you want to say any other words of wisdom to us, or?
well, I appreciate your guys' time and consideration on this. So it would definitely help my family.
Okay.
And also effectively benefit the curb appeal of the block.
Understood, Mr. Costa. Okay, at this time, we're going to conference the board members. Mr. Bentavegna, would you like to start this
Sure.
evening?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see no issue with this application. There's always room for more living space, and I wish you all the best. I'll be voting yes tonight.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. It's good to see growing families in the town, and you want to stay in town, and I see no problem with that application. I will be voting yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Graves?
Thank you, Bob.
I'm supportive of the application, has no negative impact on the community.
Ms. Martins?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a clean, straightforward application. Congrats on the growing family. I'll be voting yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Wiley?
Mr. Chairman, I have no problems with this application. It's a positive application, clean, and I'm going to vote yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes, good evening. Thank you. Concur with my colleagues, and I will be voting yes also. Congratulations on your.
Thank you, Melody.
Yes, last but not least, Mr. McNeil?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would agree with what's been said, and also would like to extend my congratulations on extending your family, and
Appreciate it.
may have to see you again going up.
It might. I mean, we had estimates for the back also, but
So I
the
would-
estimates were
I do
outrageous.
intend to vote yes.
Appreciate it, Ricardo.
As for myself, I believe Mr. Costa has met the positive criteria for the variance requested. It's good to see you stay in Union, raise a new family, so forth. I wish you a lot of luck, and I too will vote yes for this application. At this time, may I have a motion and a second?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board grant the variance applicable to this application and that council is directed to prepare a resolution consistent with the board's decision.
Second motion.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Ms. Martins?
Yes.
Mr. Bentavegna?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. McNeil?
Yes.
And Mr. Champe?
Yes.
December 18th, the board will pass the formal resolution. You don't have to be here for that, but if you have an email or you can provide it to Anthony, I can give you a draft of it if you want ahead of time.
Perfect.
Good luck.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good luck to you, Mr. Costa, and your
Thank you,
family.
members of the board.
Proceeding with tonight's meeting, our next case would be calendar number 3434, Toros Home LLC, located at 103 Union Avenue, Block 1903, Lot 1, Applicant wishes an addition for more event space and the restriping of his parking lot. Counselor?
Good evening, Chairman and board members. Hope you had a lovely Thanksgiving. Today, we are here to finally hear Toro's Homes application. It is located at 103-105 Union Ave. It's located in the CI zone, which currently does not permit mixed-use projects, which is already an existing non-conforming use. So we are seeking a D2 variance, and along with other C variances and design waivers. Currently, the site has a mixed-use building with 2,496 square feet of banquet hall space on the first floor and 1,213 square feet of a three-bedroom apartment on the second floor. The second floor three-bedroom apartment is not being affected by this proposal. The applicant is just proposing to expand the first floor banquet hall space by adding, from having it go from 2,148 square feet to 5,857 square feet. We have our engineer, architect, and planner today, and I would like to call our first witness, the engineer.
Can I ask the witness to swear or affirm that the testimony you provide this evening is the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
And for the record, can you state and spell your name with your affiliation?
Sure. First name is Giovanni, Giovanni. Last name Manilio, Manilio, with Mantera Design, the civil engineer for the project.
Okay, for the record, I did mark A1, the application as it was submitted. A2 is the site plan, which consists of 9 sheets from the engineering group, and an A3 are the architectural plans consisting of 5 sheets. So in the record is A1 through A3. If you deviate from that or add colorized versions, just let us know, and we'll continue from there.
Yes.
All right. Can you please, before we begin, put your qualifications so you can be qualified as an expert in
Sure.
engineering, please?
Yeah, so I have a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Syracuse University. I've been practicing engineering as a professional engineer in New Jersey for the past 15 years. My license is in good standing, testified in front of numerous boards throughout the state and in front of this board.
The board will accept his credentials.
Thank you, Chairman. You can go ahead and go through the site plan for us, please.
Yes, I'm actually going to mark an exhibit. It's just an aerial exhibit of the property entitled Taurus Home LLC aerial with a date of June, one second. June 26, 2024. So it's a color aerial.
As A4?
It's on the screen, right? Yes. It's a color aerial with the property highlighted in black in the middle. Just a little background. Property is located in the CI, Commercial Industrial Zone. Property is a wedge-shaped, so it's approximately 140 feet in width along the frontage of Union Ave, and as you get to the rear, it's approximately 63 feet wide with a depth of about 425 feet. Property is slightly under an acre. It's 39,860 square feet, 0.915 acres, located to the north of Route 78. I do want to specify that there is a height difference between the property and 78, about 15 feet, where Route 78 is higher than the actual site. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the area. This is an older area, but this property to the north was the old box warehouse, and it's surrounded currently by commercial, industrial, and parking lots. Property currently consists of a 2-story building with a footprint of about 3,400 square feet, with 79 vehicle parking spaces, and there are several accessory structures, and I don't know if it could be seen on this aerial, but there's a cabana, some stage, fire pit, a deck in the rear, and all that will be removed as part of this application. The first floor is currently used as a banquet and assembly space, and the second floor is currently used as a 3-bedroom apartment. And going back in the records, I believe since back in 2017, the property actually was utilized for a bar or a lounge use. There are several pre-existing nonconformities on the site. One of them is being lot area. The zone requires a lot area of 80,000 square feet. Again, this one is slightly under 40,000 square feet. A lot width of 200 feet is required. This property is approximately 131.3 feet with a lot width. And then there's an existing nonconformity for a side yard setback, which you can see right here on the screen. 25 feet is required for a side yard, where 4.9 exists currently along the Route 78 side. Along the back of the property, there's also the Elizabeth River, and that has a flood hazard area and a floodway that's associated with it. It does come into the parking lot, but as you'll see in the plans that I show, it has no effect on the proposed addition that we are proposing. I'm going to switch over to another exhibit, which is a color rendition of the site plan entitled Taurus Home LLC, site rendering with a date of June 26, 2024.
And can we do that as A5? Thank you.
Just going to zoom in here. So what's on the plan right now, what's on the screen is a color rendition of the site plan. The light brown represents the existing building. The proposed addition is shown in darker brown. The addition is 2,935 square feet. Of that, 2,148 square feet is going to be utilized for the assembly use. As mentioned earlier, we are asking a D2 variance for the expansion of the non-conforming use. The assembly space is permitted, but the residential space above is not a permitted use. Additionally, we are going to clean up the parking lot, make the maneuverability better. So we're going to clean up the front parking lot, bring it up to code, add the additional ADA parking spaces which are required. So there's going to be a total of 3 ADA parking spaces, and we are going to propose 2 EV parking spaces. This is what was shown on the plans as far as the location of the EV spaces right here where my cursor is. As your board engineer has stated, one of the spaces, or one of the EV spaces should be at an ADA space, so we'll make that change as a condition of approval. Additionally, along the north side, you can kind of see, I'm not sure if you can see it on the screen, but there's a slightly different color in the gray area to the north. So that's where we're kind of cleaning up and widening the pavement area a little bit to straighten out the parking. So existing right now, the parking is haphazard, it's not in a straight line, and the drive aisle is less than 24 feet. By doing this, we're going to have a straight and organized parking area and accessible area of 24 feet for the parking spaces, which is in conformance with the code. And there's a slight increase in impervious coverage, about 1,200 square feet, but still in conformance with the zoning requirements. With the restriping and the addition, there are a couple losses of parking spaces. We are proposing 70 physical parking spaces. And if you count the EV credit, we will have 72 parking spaces. Based on the zoning code for parking, we did have a mistake on our plans. I think we showed that 80 parking spaces are required, where in fact, we showed 92 parking spaces were required. Only 80 spaces are required because the parking is based on the assembly use, not on the total square footage of the building. So we are proposing 72 parking spaces with the EV credit. Additional improvements that we are proposing is we're going to put a new enclosed refuse enclosure in the rear here, and it's going to be landscaped on all sides, big enough to handle all the refuse and recycling required for the facilities, and new LED site lighting for the parking lot. And as mentioned in the board engineer's letter, there was a request to provide drainage to compensate for the increase in impervious. We didn't have it in our original plans, but as a condition of approval, we have no issues providing some type of drainage improvements to capture any increase in runoff. As far as conformance with the zoning ordinance, we do have the two pre-existing nonconformities that we're keeping, which is the lot area, 80,000 is required, 39,860 is existing and proposed. A lot width of 200 feet is required, where 131.3 feet is existing and proposed. We comply with the lot depth, front yard setback. We are increasing the rear side yard setback deviation. where originally 4.9 feet was existing along the property line of Route 78. We are proposing a setback of 1.5 feet, and again, 25 feet is required. There's no adjacent neighbors to the south of our project, and again, with the 15-foot difference in height, we don't feel like the setback deviation will have any effect on the public in general. Parking is a variance for number of parking spaces. So the way the code is written, it's 1 space per 60 square feet of assembly use, or 1 per 3 seats. So based on the assembly use, 77 parking spaces are required for the assembly use, 2.1 spaces are required for the residential use upstairs. So that's a total of 80 spaces required. If we base the number of seats, they are proposing 220 seats. It's actually, the requirement is less, and 75 spaces are required for this use. Again, 72 spaces are being provided with the EV credit. And then additionally, we're asking for 2 design waivers. One is for the intensity of lighting. 0.5 is permitted for lighting along a property line, where 3.7 is proposed along the northern property line. And that's due to the fact that the parking is relatively close to the property line. Again, it's not going to have any effect on any residents or the general public. I believe the lot to the north of us is a parking lot, which is a similar use. And additionally, we're asking for relief on the parking setback. The code requires a 10-foot setback from the property line. We are proposing a setback of 2.6 feet, which is, for the most part, consistent with what was existing at the east and west side of the lot. Again, we are straightening it out, and I think this is a better alternative by having organized parking and an access aisle that's 24 feet in width. And that concludes my testimony.
And as you stated that you will comply with some of the comments from the Collier's letter from April, just want to reiterate that all the comments there, no problem complying with them?
That is correct. We have no
Okay.
issues with any of the comments.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
No further questions for this engineer yet.
Are there any
Can
board
I
members
just
that
get
would
some clarity on the Collier's letter, because in the variances, as they've summarized them, 1.3 on page 204, they have a parking count of 94. I was hearing different numbers from you. Did you discuss that with them, or is there a reason that there's a discrepancy? They have 94 spaces.
Yeah, so the discrepancy is with the way that the parking is counted. So the 94 is based on the total floor area, but if you read the code, it says assembly use is how the parking is classified as. Speaking to the architect, we got the areas of the assembly use, and the actual number comes out to 80 parking spaces.
Have you discussed that with Collier's, though? Is that something that the discrepancies?
I have not spoken to Collier's about
Because
that.
I think it's probably going to be important to, since it's a variance, to make sure we're all on the same page on that. But
Not a
I'll
problem.
note that for the record, and perhaps we might need to follow up with Collier's on that, because that's a space significant difference if you were at capacity with your banquet facility. You know, where do those cars go? You know, I realize it's you've testified to the desolate area where it is, but if it's a well-attended event, there's got to be an option.
Yep.
And if there's a shortage of a bigger degree than you're testifying, I think that's important for the board to know.
Yep, but noted, and we'll reach out to the team at Collier's.
Any board members that would like to question the testimony Mr. Manilio has provided this evening?
I have a question on the 3-bedroom. Is that occupied by the owner, or is that a
It's not.
individual
know
that's?
It's not occupied by the owner, I know that. Is it currently occupied? Yes. They have a tenant.
And back to the question concerning the parking, where would you anticipate any overflow parking to park? Right, it's a desolate area, there's a business across the street, warehouse on the other side. There used to be a Tuscan or something over
Dairy.
there.
Yeah.
So it's a commercial area. Wide vehicles come through there at all times of night. So parking on curb could create issues for some of the vehicles. So has any consideration been given to those individuals that may not be able to get into that parking lot?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's nothing in place as far as a formal agreement, but speaking with the applicant, if, you know, they have a bigger event, they would reach out to some of the adjoining property owners and see if there's a way to work out a way to park vehicles in adjacent lots. But that would be some type of private agreement that would occur on a event-by-event basis.
And the last thing was concerning the drainage, that you hear you say that you guys want to look at doing something. Any ideas of how you could accommodate that drainage with that already being in a flood zone?
Yeah, so the increase in impervious is 1,200 square feet. It's very minimal. It's smaller than most residential projects. So it would probably be some type of drywall system in the front of the property, away from the and we'll pick up probably a couple of the roof leaders is what I would envision.
Any other board members with questions?
Has your office started the process for the flood permit that's referenced in Collier's? That may be, I guess there's a DEP communication that's required. Has that been done?
No, so we don't believe a formal permit is required. This should follow under a permit by rule, number 8. We could make the determination or file for a determination with DEP, but a formal permit, in our opinion, is not required for this project.
Okay, but you're not objecting that it needs to be clarified one way or the other, right?
Yeah, we'll get clarification from DEP that, to formalize that a permit is not required, or the actual formal permit is not required.
Any other board members that would like to question this witness? Hearing none, are there any members of the public that would like to question the testimony that Mr. Melilio has given this evening? Hearing none, Counselor, your next witness?
Real quick, before I call the architect up, I just want to also provide some clarification on what exactly they're going to be hosting. Like, it's not just like a general assembly hall. They will host numerous different types of events, baby showers, birthdays, weddings, those type of events. And they'll be having like contracts specific to each event that they have. They'll have security. They will make sure that alcohol, they're allowed to bring alcohol, but they'll make sure that nobody under the age of 21 will be allowed to drink. They'll constantly check IDs. One thing that they're suggesting to do is maybe wristbands for either the people who are under 21 or over 21 once their ID is checked. And then whichever way they choose, if you're under 21, you don't get served alcohol. If you have a wristband, if you're an adult and you have a wristband, then you get served alcohol, kind of something like that. So I just want to state what kind of things they're doing there. It's not just a general assembly hall or banquet hall. It's for like weddings, birthday parties, baby showers, bridal showers, stuff like that.
Council, I have a question.
Yes.
Do they have a liquor license?
No.
Because a BYOB is a whole completely different license through this town, and
Okay.
I don't know if they're familiar. You can't just,
Yeah, they will not be providing the alcohol. It's just,
Yeah, but to even bring
Okay.
BYOB, there's a whole rules that I would check with the clerk.
okay, no problem.
I note for the record too, I know council, you did, or your office did, I don't know if it was you, I guess it was you and/or Mr. Hale, sent in a letter, it wasn't a communication since it made the packets of the board, dated December 2nd. It kind of summarized, I believe, what council just.
Yeah, just wanted to
just
put that on the
into
record.
So my only reaction to that is wondering if it's, would help the board to have the police and/or some of the particulars offered by Mr. Manguso as it relates to the liquor handling, whether or not, and as Ricardo mentioned, the parking, whether there's an access parking agreement that would be needed for overflow. Some of these things may need to be reviewed by our police. I know they didn't have comments as it related to the way it was submitted, but this is a new submission, or at least a supplement. So that's something to keep in mind for the board, to perhaps, when you deliberate whether or not we need to have police and/or additional township representative review on this before you're in good conscience can vote on it. But
Yeah,
I note that for the record.
I just also want to just put that on the record too.
Yeah.
to give a little overview of what the type of events they would be hosting.
I should have mentioned, because it is in the packet, so the board has it, but obviously it's dated December 2nd, today's the 4th. It didn't
Correct.
give a lot of time really for the board to digest it or circulate it to the professionals, so that's just something
Understandable.
to keep in
And
mind.
if that was the case, we would look into the liquor license way before we proceed.
Well, the health department also has comments back from April, so.
Yes. And I just have another quick question. There is no bar there, correct? as we
No.
speak, or kitchen?
No, but
They
they
were
will be
both
putting
removed.
in,
They
the
would be putting
kitchen,
it back.
correct. The
Because they were
kitchen was removed. There's currently nothing there right now. The architect will go in to explain how they're going to be putting a full functioning kitchen back in. All right.
Since you're discussing the alcohol, does the applicant have liquor liability insurance?
No, not that I'm aware of. We will look into obtain, before they even open for approvals and all that, we will make sure everything is above board. We have all, like permits and everything.
And how, if the renters, we'll say, are allowed to bring their own alcohol in, how are you gonna stop someone with a wristband from getting the alcohol and giving it to someone who doesn't have it on the other side of the room?
Well, they plan to have security at the door inside. They have cameras. They're really, the applicant's gonna be, yes, the applicant will be on site at every event as well, monitoring. They will have staff. They have a security plan. They have everything that will be in place that makes sure that that does not happen. We all know prior violations that happen, and we'll make sure that doesn't happen again. Yes.
And just one last thing, not to put you on the spot, I don't know if it's the engineer or even if you know, or if we have to follow up. If the fire department violations have been cured, the ones that are referenced in their review back from the spring.
I would believe that would be for the architect.
Okay, because that's backdated, that's not something, oh, we'll get around to it if we get an approval. I think it's important to make sure that we're up to speed for the site as you present it for future work, so.
Okay. With that being said, I would like to call the architect.
Question for her about security.
Sure. Mr. Wiley has a question.
It said that there would be hiring guards, security guards based on the size of the event. What would those numbers look like? I mean, how many guards per event, per person?
It would depend on how many people are there. They would have to create as per a contract, but they plan to work with Jobs in Blue to hire that as security. But those amounts of how many security officers per number of attendees, I'm not sure of right now. I don't know off the top of my head, but it would be ratioed appropriately.
That's one of the things I referenced to Mr. Wiley. I think perhaps the police may need to weigh in on that, or some standard to have imposed that the board could legitimately deliberate on those details. I think it's important. Can I ask the witness to raise your hand and swear or affirm that the testimony you provide this evening is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes,
And for the record, state and spell your name with your affiliation.
sure. My name is Paulo Dantas. First name is Paulo, Paulo. Last name is Dantas, Dantas.
Any change in your credentials from the last time you were qualified and appeared here as an expert architect?
No,
Thank you.
I'm trying to bring up the... Did you do this on an Apple? So I call it up back there.
plans as originally submitted are A3, the 5 sheets, so if you deviate from that, we'll pick up with the numbering from A6, if there's colorized or different versions.
Yes, my exhibits have not changed.
Okay. If you can just start going through the floor plan and catch up with, if it gets put on the screen.
Mr. Dantas, could you please state your credentials to the board?
Sure. Graduated from the New Jersey Institute of Technology in 2002 with a bachelor's in architecture. I've been licensed in the state of New Jersey since 2007. I've been in various boards, including this one, and my
Counselor will
license is up
accept
to date.
his credentials.
Thank you.
You need the Word file too?
No, I just need this, the PDF.
There you go. Your thing's corrupted, that's why I didn't do it.
Is it?
Yeah.
There we go.
You broke it. All right.
Okay.
If you can take us through the floor plan?
Sure, thank you. The project scope will consist of a one-story rear addition of approximately 2,935 square feet, with interior alterations to the existing first floor of approximately, I think it's 2,533, including all the stairs. The floor plans are as follows. On sheet A100, which we call it the basement floor plan, the basement floor plan consists of a crawl space addition of approximately 2,935 square feet and a foundation of new proposed stairs and ramps. The existing basement, located on the right side, will remain with the exception of the additional egress towards the back to the exterior located at the side of the building. The existing basement consists of an existing bar, also restrooms, and existing storage, along with the mechanical rooms and walk-in fridge, all proposed to remain. Sheet A100, the proposed first floor plan. It's approximately 4,644 square feet of occupiable area. We're proposing on the first floor is in addition to the existing banquet hall. We're pretty much removing all the exterior, and all this entire left side will be the additional banquet hall, which will include restrooms, kitchen, and the storage and closet areas. Based on our initial design, we calculated these many toilet areas and toilet rooms to accommodate to the existing and the new proposed addition. The kitchen will be a full kitchen, which will have the three-compartment sink for prepping and also for cooking. We'll have the Ansel systems and exhaust and makeup air all within that area. The main entrance to the doors to the banquet hall with the additional required egress and service doors, along with ADA ramps, are being proposed to accommodate all the egress distance and requirements of exits. The new addition and the existing banquet will become one space by removing the exterior wall of the existing hall. The existing banquet hall space will consist of a lounge area towards the front of the building, and also we will be proposing a bar area towards the front of the building. All existing stairs are to remain in egress doors, along with existing chair lift was also to remain. Sheet A100, 102, the proposed second floor. The second floor consists of an existing three-bedroom apartment consisting of a kitchen, living area, one bathroom, with a sink, toilet, and a tub. The proposed roof over the first floor addition will consist of a new roof top units, exhaust fans, makeup air equipment. The roof will be a low slope pitch with parapets along its perimeter, and we will also be providing screening as needed for all these rooftop units. Sheet A100 is describing our intent for the elevations. We have a total height of the addition of 20 feet 6 inches to the top of the highest parapet. The new building entrance are going to be covered with decorative metal canopies. As you can see here, we are implementing a brick material in the entrance and increased the parapets in height to emphasize the banquet hall's entrances. The hardy board that is being used as paneling and also as siding, and this is to provide cohesive to the existing material present at the existing building. Between the new and the proposed entrance, a wall-mounted sign is being proposed. We're looking to comply with the requirements of the zoning. The elements provide a more cohesive design, materials by creating projections and also recessed planes to emphasize, again, more of the entrance and more of the new addition. Scale and proportion also have been considered, and although Union Ave is the prominent building elevation, by utilizing the same level, architectural design, and use of materials, the side elevation, guests will be able to determine the entrance of the banquet hall with ease. The architectural characteristics, again, is based on the aesthetics of the existing building, and the existing elements, windows and doors are to remain.
And to address the fire comments, no problem addressing all the comments that fire had, complying with them?
That's correct.
Okay. No further questions for this witness.
Are there any members of the board that would like to question the testimony this witness has provided?
I have a question. Is there a sprinkler system in there?
I think this has been a project has been a little bit long, but I think that we are required to put a sprinkler system. Currently, there isn't, but I think we may need to put one. And also, I also believe the separation between the existing residents and the new elements also will need to be upgraded. So there's going to be quite a little bit of work there, depending on the construction classification and all that stuff. So.
Okay. And my second question, and I don't know if you can answer this, who could, but, I know it's a hall for have parties. There won't be any bands here, because I see the stage and storage for stage and dance floor, like, we're not having any bands here.
We had a storage for that purpose, but I'm not sure.
I'm not- Let me double check.
Well, only if this witness knows. I mean, it sounds, I think we're gonna need, the more I'm hearing, the more I think we're gonna need a follow-up. Maybe not with your professionals, maybe with a representative, rather than, going to the audience. We're gonna have to have them, I think, sworn and provide a lot of these details. Not tonight, but since your professionals are here, let's hear them, obviously, because I don't wanna see you go through that expense.
I think the intent was more to give them a space for dancing and whatnot and whatever it is, and then eventually they'll accommodate to.
You don't know whether or not the past fire violations have been cured, not anything going forward that may be complied with. Are you aware of the past violations at the fire department?
I am aware of the past violations. I just don't know if they have done the work, but I do put testimony that as we do this and provide permits, we are going to be pretty much complying to updated building codes.
And just to clarify, I spoke with the applicant, and they just plan on having DJs, no live bands, just DJs.
Chairman, I have a question.
Mr. McNeil?
The existing portion, is that going to be totally gutted and all new wiring, all new finishes?
So my initial assessment was we could try to keep some of the elements, we could, but looking at the amount of work that we're doing at this current moment, we may need to upgrade all of those. We just have to take a quick look with the mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, and just verify that everything is up to code, the outlets, all the receptacles, switches, And I think once we start getting into that and renovating, then a lot of the elements may need to take place. I also mentioned the fire separation, correct? So a lot of the ceiling may need to be exposed and then relay it out again to have the proper separation.
Maybe just to go back to the point of violations, there was some electrical violations unreported also, and that's why I'm asking.
And I think that's where I'm getting to, that we need to get in there and really look at things. Saw quite a bit of panels. It's just we need to have somebody else that's a little bit like an engineer, electrical engineer, and start already justifying not only that, but also we're going to have a full kitchen, so we need to make sure that all this voltage and amperage is going to be accommodated for that.
Couldn't it possibly change your site plan if you need to go with all new mechanical?
No, a lot of the units and things like that, we'll put it on top. If we do need a sprinkler system, the existing basement will accommodate for that. We just have to see where the flood level is.
Now, speaking about the existing basement, that has a bar and also an area. Is it intent to use that also while events are going on?
That's, I believe it is. We were not indicated to remove it, no.
Do we provide for parking for that area?
So that area, it's, I think, did we include that area? No, we did not. We were just taking into consideration that the space above, whoever the occupants are, they're also going to be able to trickle down into the bottom. But that is not to increase the volume of occupants.
But it's potentially.
It could be potentially, but our intention was to have upstairs banquet, and then once in a while, I guess you always have a bar downstairs, but it's not to increase the volume of occupants. That was not the intent. It was to be shared.
It's a potential reality, though.
Yeah.
So we need to look at that parking, to take that area into consideration, I would think.
I agree.
I have a question. Although no outdoor events are planned currently, how do we ensure that you contact the township when you have an outdoor event? How will we know that?
I think that would be more in the legal.
Yeah, so they don't plan on having any outdoor events, but in the event that they do, they will contact us and we will contact you guys for all requests and permits, whatever is needed required by the township to allow the outdoor event. But they do not plan on having outdoor events at all.
That'll lead me to my question. So if they don't have it outside, you do have it upstairs and downstairs, will there be more than one event at a time? Will they be utilizing downstairs and upstairs at the same time?
So I'm not looking
don't
to,
believe so.
I just want to clarify, it was not the intent to do two events. It was
Yeah.
one event per the building. Okay.
That can also be a condition of approval, if such approval is granted.
Any other board questions?
Mr. Dantas, you're familiar with the Collier's report from April that we've discussed as well, right, April 29th? Towards the end, in the technical comments, the last page, I believe, he references the discrepancy. 6.7 is the actual paragraph of the square footage. And it's 6.6 on the previous page, both a discrepancy in the square footage of the addition as proposed by you as compared to the engineer's plans, 2,148 square feet as compared to 2,935, and then ultimately the square footage as out of your plans for the building size. Can you just make sure we're clarifying that?
Sure.
To Collier's satisfaction for the board's edification?
Sure. So the entire addition is 2,935 square feet. The 2,148, I believe the engineer went prior to me, mentioned that that's the occupant or the assembly area that we're looking to use, which excludes the bathrooms, the kitchen area, and the storage area.
So the architect's number is accurate as to the entire square footage for the addition,
That's correct.
and your number that the 6.6 Collier's references is a portion of that.
Indicating only
Space.
the assembly, excluding the kitchen, the toilet areas, and the storage.
Now, the addition noted on 6.7, he's got 2,700 for the existing space, and then 3,000 plus or minus. Is that intended to reflect the number that the engineer used, the 2,935 as the plus or minus?
Yes.
Oh, no further, sorry.
Any other board members that would like to question? Mr. Dantes? Hearing none, are there any members of the public that would like to question the testimony that this witness has provided? Is he your final witness?
No, we have our planner, Barbara Eileen.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Paolo.
Can I ask the witness to swear or affirm that the testimony you provide this evening is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes.
And for the record, if you could state and spell your name with your business affiliation.
Yes, my name is Barbara Allen. My first name is Barbara, B-A-R-B-A-R-A. My last name is Allen, E as in Edward, H as in hotel, L-E-N as in Nancy. As my brother likes to say, it's pronounced like you're pouring ale into a cup, Allen. You'll please forgive me if I'm a little hoarse. I'm getting over a head cold. I tested, it's not COVID. So this evening,
Before you begin, can you
my
put your credentials? Thank you.
I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey and an AICP. I've worked with Beacon Planning since 2008, and I've worked my way up to principal. I've testified throughout numerous boards in the state of New Jersey, and act as the planning board planner for the Borough of Freehold and the Township of Livingston.
We'll accept Miss Allen's credentials.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So this evening, we're here for a D2 variance, which is expansion of a non-conforming use or a pre-existing non-conforming use. In this instance, it's actually the residential use that's the non-conformity, and we're not proposing to touch that. So the only use that's being expanded is actually the permitted use, which is the banquet facility. When I look at the local zoning, banquet facilities are included under your definition of places of assembly, and therefore it is a permitted use within the district. The property itself, as was testified to, is relatively isolated from some other more like residential or local smaller commercial uses. To the south is Route 78, and to the west and north are more industrial uses, trailer parking specifically adjacent to the property to the north. With respect to the local ordinance as well, I note that the CI district does permit multiple uses and tenants to occupy a specific site or a single building. So the zone does anticipate multiple tenants of the single building. Again, it's just that it's not anticipating the residential use. When we look to a D2 variance, Coventry controls, so it's not a use variance. We don't have to look at Medici. Coventry shifts the burden, and it's not looking at the use as a whole, but it's looking at, can the site accommodate the deviation from what's permitted? And so in this instance, we're not touching the use that's not permitted. It's staying at the size it is currently, and it is not being altered, it's not being increased, it's being left as is, and is currently occupied and will continue to be so. So we look to see, can the site accommodate the deviation, and we're not changing the deviation in this instance, so the site can accommodate it. What we are looking for is to expand the permitted use, which is the assembly hall, or in this instance, the banquet facility. When we look to the positive as to why we would want to do this, it does permit them to reinvest into the property in a manner that allows it to bring in sprinklers, to more abide by building codes, to bring in ADA access so that more people can enjoy the facility and attend those family parties and those family get-togethers. It also will create and upgrade the existing site improvements. So we're straightening out the parking, we're improving the circulation, and so we're giving that a safer configuration by expanding that aisle width to 24 feet. It also, it's a way to invest in your commercial rateable base. This isn't a use that can be outsourced to AI. You can't buy it online. You can't receive the service online. It's a place where people get together. So it's a little bit more resilient of a use to add to your commercial diversification and helping with your tax base. I note that with respect to negative criteria, the zone does anticipate these types of uses. It anticipates this kind of use. It anticipates fitness centers. It anticipates manufacturing, offices, indoor and outdoor recreation facilities, and as I said, fitness centers. So it does anticipate uses that will draw in crowds, and crowds at like typical, at set times. You know, fitness centers usually have what a draw from like 6 a.m. to like 8:30 a.m. is like the peak hour. So it does anticipate uses that will bring vehicles in at one time. With respect to substantial detriment, I do not see any, just because the site is anticipated to take this type of zoning, or the zone anticipates this type of use. The proposed addition is to the rear of the existing building, and so it will blend in, and will allow the applicant to reinvest in the property and beautify it, and do make it a more attractive and wanted use within the community, contributing to the community. It is also, because of its location, it can provide the service without impacting your local, without impacting residential neighborhoods, without impacting like small businesses with their parking. It's relatively isolated, and so it doesn't present the same detriment as it could if in a different location. With respect to your master plan, it does encourage improvement to properties. So your plan does encourage reinvestment, and wants to see that people are vested in their businesses, invested in their properties, and this is what this application shows, because they're not only improving the building, but they're improving the site. So the paving, the landscaping, the signage will all reflect a reinvestment into this particular area. With respect to the purposes of zoning, I would say purpose A, to promote public health, safety, welfare, morals and general welfare, just because it is bringing the building closer into current building codes so that it is a safer configuration of the building. And so, yes, in its expansion of a banquet facility, now that banquet facility can actually handle the people that are coming there in a manner that is safe. Purpose G, to provide sufficient space in appropriate locations. Again, your zoning anticipates this use and anticipated it in this area. And finally, to promote a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. It is a beautification of the property. It will add to the community. It will add to the community's business stock and its rateable base. With respect to the C variances sought, we're limited to 2. Well, there's some existing. There's a lot area and lot width. These are pre-existing conditions that would qualify under the C1 criterion. The proposed will not exacerbate them, and unfortunately there's not land available adjoining the property by which to cure these deficiencies. With respect to this rear yard setback, side yard setback, 1.5 feet is proposed, and my cursor will show it's down along the southern property line. The property is rather unique in that it is bordered by Route 78 to the south. So it doesn't present, and there is a 15-foot, as was discussed by the site engineer, grade differential. So this kind of intrusion doesn't actually present the same light, air, and open space concerns you would have if this was, abutting another business, or if this was abutting a residential where you would feel like it would impede into their living area. This instead is, it's not impeding into anyone, frankly. Finally, there's the question regarding parking. I know that there's discussion about what the required parking is, but if we were to look at this as a restaurant, which I would compare a banquet facility to, you would only require one space per every 3 seats, which would result in a parking requirement of approximately 74 spaces, where we're providing physically 70, but get the credit for 72 because of the EV. So there's a differential of approximately 2 spaces. So, and that is based on seating area, which is proposed to remain as for 220 seats, which would be our limit. So, and additionally, as was testified to by the site engineer, the applicant is willing to work with their neighbors on off hours. I know there's like a security business across the street that would probably be closed on hours that were complementary to this business, that they could work with in order to secure additional parking. And if that meant that they needed to have, I'm sure if they needed a security guard to help people cross that road, that they'd be willing to work with the town to accommodate that as well, to make it a safer configuration. With respect to the negative criteria for the C variances, the side yard setback and the parking, I don't see any, just because it allows a business to continue to thrive in the community, to contribute and to provide a space for families to get together, to have those baby showers, to have those weddings. It is a service that is sought after and one that brings your community closer. Therefore, I don't see any truly negative impacts from the project. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Are there any board members that would like to question Ms. Allen?
You're so good at it.
Yes.
Okay, you said 220 seats, you're basing your parking on 220
Yes.
seats. Is that all on the first floor?
That's all on the first floor.
How many tables and seats are going to be at the bar area in the basement?
I didn't see any tables. I'd have to see if there are any seats.
That
But
doesn't mean
again,
you won't put them there.
no, I understand. And that could be something that's discussed as a condition, that they're limited to 220 seats.
That would be fine with us.
Any other questions?
Do you have an opinion on, this is Rob Hansul, the board attorney. You're here on the D2 mixed-use feature with the residential being non-permitted, correct?
Correct.
And that's what exists. Do you have an opinion on what impact the expanded banquet facility would have on the residential unit that's there?
Well, the residential unit will actually just sit upon the existing, so it's not being expanded, so it may not necessarily have the same impacts. But I would assume that since it was previously run as a banquet hall or event center, that those impacts would already be known to the occupant.
But you're familiar with the improvements that are proposed, or the additions that are proposed, with a kitchen, with a bar, that we've heard tonight, with a DJ, with security, with other variables. Are you familiar with the December 2nd letter that came into the board that offered conditions or at least criteria of use?
I did have a chance to briefly review it.
Okay. All right, no, I just was curious, because that's
And I would.
ties into the Coventry analysis when you're dealing with the residential. I realize it's only one 3-bedroom unit, but maybe it's not occupied now, but presumably a family would be living there.
It is occupied now, and typically, though it would, oddly enough, the Coventry would more look at the impact of the 3-bedroom apartment on the assembly hall use, since the assembly hall use is the permitted use. But
But they're
believe-
there, that's the problem. You're not
Yeah.
here, if you were here adding the apartment, I would agree, but then you'd be at D1. But
Yeah.
the fact that it's there and you're expanding the banquet, that's the relief that you're seeking.
Yes.
You know, when I hear DJ, even if you exclude a band by condition, you know, a DJ for a wedding that starts at 7 on a weekend is gonna go till midnight, you know, it's.
I understand, and unfortunately, whoever
At
would
least.
rent the apartment would have an understanding of what's going into there.
And to address that with the late nights with DJs, we wouldn't mind imposing time restrictions or anything, so that's also a consideration.
No, I understand, and it may not be a fair, and I know I asked a lot of questions tonight of some of the professionals. It seems to me, Mr. Chairman, and I don't know if council has more witnesses or anyone else has any questions
No.
of the planner, but I am of the mind that we need to hear from a representative, that we're gonna have to qualify and at least swear in to answer some of these questions, and I think the questions should be posed after the township has the ability to get some additional data from its professionals to address these important details. I mean, when you hear from me and Mr. Manguso as much as we did tonight, I think there's a lot of open-ended questions here that, and I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent, I just think the board's entitled to hear answers that would allow it to fairly deliberate on this, because it's not a D1 variance, but it is a D2 variance, and there is an expansion, and the expansion is quite significant as we qualified through the architect tonight. You know, it's 3,000, it's almost doubling the size of what's there, so it's not.
I just want to verify, though, that, I know there's an expansion, but it's to the permitted use.
No, I understand.
It's a D2, but it's the permitted use that's being
I know, but you
expanded.
can't gloss over the fact that the apartment is there, and that's the unpermitted feature. They still are entitled to an analysis and a deliberation from this board to be able to make sure it's not a substantial detriment to their existence, to their rightful existence. They're there. It's tricky. It's not easy, in my opinion. But, you know, you had three good experts. I'm not saying that we can't get there. I just think it's premature to keep asking these questions in a vacuum and going to the audience. They may not be prepared to testify tonight. I would prefer to get the information from the town first and reschedule when we can notice and announce that. I don't want to see you go through the expense of bringing your professionals back, and so if anyone else has any questions of them, by all means do it tonight. But I think we should look to have the representative, a manager, the owner, whoever's going to be this person that's offering these conditions, to kind of put them under the spotlight a little bit just to get additional details. I appreciate that it's in writing. I appreciate the council submitted it, but I think it leads us to where we need to go, and that's something. I know we're at the end of the year and up against the holidays, but we did get the expert testimony on the record, so that is now part of the record. That's fine. I didn't note in A6, though. Natasha, do you know if the architect's renderings, was that addition? Was that part of your 5-page site plan or no?
No, that was from the original submission. It's just black and white, and this was in color, but because the printer only printed.
Oh, okay. So you want to have the color renderings? I'll mark it as A6, just so we have the color renderings.
And then we don't mind coming back and having the representative speak. We would also, their English is also not really good, so we would bring someone who can kind of
Okay,
translate.
I think that's admirable. I think it's advisable. As I said, Mr. Chairman, the experts are here. I don't want to necessarily think that the applicant would have to go through the expense of paying the experts to be here again. I would offer, if anyone has any additional questions of any of the experts while they're here, and or the public. I don't think anybody from the public beyond. Those are your client representatives in the audience?
Yes.
So, you know, I don't know if it's unfortunate, but what we're up against is the reorg meeting for this board. I mean, we're done for this year in terms of agendas. We have reorg, and then we have cases already on the 15th, so you're looking at January 22nd, I think is the earliest, so if you want to consider that date or the week after that, I guess. I don't even know if is that the 4th Wednesday or 5th Wednesday? Yeah, that would be we wouldn't meet on that night.
Would that give you enough time, January 22nd?
Well, it's them and us too.
And-
We got to make sure that
yeah.
this information
What-
that came in yesterday or
Are
Monday.
you guys gonna want the revised plans, like addressing the fire comments or anything like that?
My humble opinion is that the past fire violations need to be satisfied. That has nothing to do with saying, oh yeah, we'll get to it if you give us an approval going forward. I mean, I realize you might have restraints on the use right now, but I would have the fire department weigh in on that. If we've learned tonight they haven't been cured, we'll take care of that on the professional end to say, let's make sure there's nothing of a concern for fire safety, to make sure something needs to be done before this.
Especially when there's residents.
Right.
They should have been taken care of.
All right.
We will provide updated architectural plans.
While they're discussing, were there any additional questions for myself?
Oh, yeah.
Are there any additional questions that
No, just,
you would like to ask Ms. Allen? Hearing none, are there any members of the public that would like to question the testimony this witness has provided? Hearing none, are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this application? Hearing none. Okay, then it's between you and Mr.
Cancel.
thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
We can provide updated
January
architectural.
22nd date works for 2025? I mean, that's, we were talking, I apologize amongst ourselves
Yep.
logistically, because we now
So
have
we're
to
gonna
share
adjourn
this room
tonight's
apparently
meeting,
with the
right?
Board of Ed for some sessions,
For continued
Okay.
reading.
but the 22nd is the first date of availability, correct? Or into February. It's up to you, because you'll be the one with the red, how you want to work with the, I announced publicly, I don't expect the applicant, I don't think it'd be fair to
Yeah.
expect the applicant to repay the experts,
We'll aim for January 22nd,
okay?
and we'll, yeah, and placeholder for the next one just in case.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I think that's a cooperative effort. I think it would warrant making an announcement tonight that we're going to carry this, even though it's into next year, to the January 22nd, 2025 meeting of the zoning board at 7:30 in this room, to allow the township to consider the supplemental security and features in the December 2nd communication that was circulated to the board, as well as have the applicant ready to have the representative sworn to address a lot of the comments that came up tonight, not only as to the supplemental submission, but as to the liquor license, the insurance, the overflow parking, the security, the apartment banquet ratio in terms of the living and accommodations for each tenant. They both have rights, even though one is going to be a three-family or a three-room apartment, but the other is 220 patrons. So that has to somehow mesh to coexist.
And just one other, I'm still not sure if that basement area has been counted in terms of required parking, so can you
We'll clarify,
that?
yes.
Oh, that's a good point, Mr. O'Neill, the clarification, because Colliers has stuck to the 94 spaces. I think they're probably including that.
Yes.
Now, I appreciate your offering conditions. Well, if we're using the seats, we won't use that. That has to come from the representative as well. That's gonna, and that's, if that's gonna be a condition, fine, I've noted it, so.
We can provide some like a supplemental bullet point response to some of the clarifications in the Collier's letter.
Right, whatever allows us to move, and some of it's dependent on what the comments will come from the police. I don't know if they're gonna react to this security feature and some of the logistics, I think, as Mr. Johnson pointed out. Your BYOB, who's gonna monitor that once the party starts? If there's one person in security, or maybe two, and there's 200 people there, and, 190 of them have wristbands and 30 don't, I don't know who's gonna, and they're not pouring the drinks, because you don't have a liquor license. I mean, there's a lot of questions. I don't know what happened in the past, but right now it's not operating, right?
Correct.
So that's another variable. That's why the fire violations, I think, are important. That was my point to the planner, that you're expanding what's there. What's there is currently shut down, so it's not open and functioning. So that's in the record as well. I know this case has festered for a while. Mr. Manguso supplied some police data from past events they had before they expanded. So, that's another variable here, and I know you're addressing that with your supplemental submission. I appreciate that. But I think to tie this all together, there's our roadmap. So if we have bullet points to answer those questions, I think that'll be the sensible way to try to finish this.
Okay.
Just for the record, Mr. Pansula, there is not a CO for downstairs.
Well, there you go.
For the building, other than the people upstairs. It's in the back.
Okay. So that answers the question on use for that, but then again, who's monitoring that? We've heard some improvements going to occur down there, so if it's just to be restored, that's fine. We'll just make sure we're clear on that.
Okay.
Counselor, would you like to make any comments or summarize what you?
I will wait until we come back to do the whole summary
Sure,
and
okay.
comments.
I understand that.
But thank you for your
And-
time and happy holidays.
Same to you.
Thank you.
So, can I have a motion and a second to adjourn tonight's meeting?
No, you need to do a motion in a second to carry this matter to the January 22nd regular meeting night of the zoning board, without further notice. Council, I assume we waive time constraints to realize the adjournment.
Yes.
So noted for the record.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to carry calendar number 3434, Toros Home LLC, 103 Union Ave, Block 1903, Lot 1, scheduled for January 22nd, 2025.
At 7:30
Same time,
With no notice?
without
notice.
further notice, correct.
Second motion.
May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Wiley,
Yes.
Martins,
Yes.
Mr. Fagenin,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Champion.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, there being no further business coming before the board this evening, I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?